everybody, and welcome to this episode of Beyond the Ferry. I'm Robin Lefkowitz, Executive Vice President of Northfield Bank, and Beyond the Ferry is brought to you by the Staten Island Economic Development Corporation. For those of you not familiar with the SIEDC, it's the premier Staten Island economic business organization that assists all small, mid, and large-sized businesses with any assistance they need on Staten Island. Additionally, they host several really wonderful conferences each year, including their Health and Wellness Conference, which has a medical, insurance, wellness spin, and a business conference that is attended by just about every business on Staten Island. I thank everybody for tuning into this episode, and we have 4 amazing businesses that will be here today having a discussion with me. You'll learn a lot about everybody. But we have James Prendamano, who's the CEO of Casandra Properties, Scott Salinardi, who's the Associate Executive Director for Lifestyles for the Disabled. We have Billy Hanson, owner of Reliable Office Solutions. And last but not least, we have the Beauty Suite, who are owned by Donna, Ivackovic, and Anjali, Wrenn. And it's going to be an awesome show. And with that, I'm going to get started with our first guest, James Prendamano. Welcome.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here.
Thank you. So when I think of the North Shore, I think of you.
We've done quite a bit of work over the last 15 years there. It's been an interesting road. There's been a tremendous amount of successes, and I think it's important that we look at the North Shore in the prism of any other developing neighborhood. There's been a lot of new brick and mortar, which hadn't occurred for 50 years, really, in the private
exactly.
zone. So a lot of exciting stuff.
So tell our viewers, what have you seen happening at the North Shore, and what do you think is going to happen there?
So we've seen the natural kind of evolution of the neighborhood. A lot of the development that's gone on down there has been on sites that previously didn't house residents. So we haven't seen that gentrification that people kind of get a little bit worried about. We've seen comps drastically change. Initially, comps were down in the $30 and $40 a foot range. Now they're in the $100 a foot range. So we've seen quite a bit of growth, and it's been a nice, steady trajectory.
So how is that going to be sustained? What's happening to have that continue?
Sure. So once the big projects kind of anchored up, Irby and Empire, Downtown Plaza, Edgewater Plaza, the View, there's a new one coming online too, across from the ferry site. Then you see some of the smaller projects fall in line. This thought that this was going to happen overnight is just not reality. You have economic cycles that you have to move through, and you have the realities of the market. So I think that it's in a really good place. I know city planning has done another really strong initiative. I think that the community pushed back too much on holding the density down. To make these things really work and to get to the type of housing that people want today. We're in a place where, for the first time, we're seeing on Staten Island our 55 and over demographic sync up with the kids coming home from school. They both want to be in active buildings, walkable communities, restaurants, lifestyle components, Zen gardens, yoga studios. So that's an interesting merging there.
But is that happening yet?
Well, the zoning is starting to unlock that potential. I would love more zoning and more density because I think it's important, right? What really changes the communities, the commercial projects are great, but you need people pushing strollers, right? There's a difference if you're walking to a store and you walk past a coffee cup on the ground. If you're pushing a stroller or you're walking with your significant other, you pick that coffee cup up when you live there. So density is really what drives that whole overturn.
So what's been happening in the housing market? Is it mostly rentals? Is it condos? What's going in there?
So whatever has been built has been absorbed. Irby is at 97% occupancy. That's a rental project.
And that's a rental.
The View is at 100% occupancy. That's a rental project. The Accolade and the Point are condo projects. They've sold and resold many times over. So it's certainly not a matter of we don't have enough people to fill it. We need more product.
So is there more product being built?
Yeah, there is more product behind it. Again, this last upzoning city planning worked very hard to fold in more density. We have the view issue that comes up on Staten Island quite a bit. To me, a view is a privilege. It's not a right. You know, if you sit up on the hills and you really look down in the context of Irby, We ended up at 6 stories there. It's almost not even visible.
That's a shame because it is a really nice view.
It is. So as the density increases, the more projects will come online. But currently there are, there has to be upwards of 2,000 units that I'm aware of alone that are on the boards.
And we were just waiting for them to start.
Yeah, the permitting process,
Sure.
and that's...
So let's switch to commercial a little bit. What's
Sure.
happening in the commercial arena in the North Shore?
Similar growth. When we started working down there, and everyone started working down there, the comps were at a certain level, and you had to work very, very, very hard to get people to consider Staten Island, particularly the North Shore. But as the dominoes start to tip and you build momentum, and we started off with the Dominoes, and we're now at the Nordstroms and the Nikes, right? So it's been quite a period there, and it's really in a short period of time. There's a lot of names that have come, and it's a strong market.
However, we had a lot of it hinging upon some development that potentially won't happen.
I like to think that when you have the bright minds that we have in this city, and you have the bright minds on the private side, that there's a way to move through this. These deals are extraordinarily complex, and there's a lot more to it. It's not as simple as some of the reports that you see. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes. I'm still confident that we end up with a world-class attraction.
Let's talk a little bit about the restaurants that are happening.
Yeah.
So you have to have, like you said, liveliness to get those residents there, and the commercial as well.
Yeah, so as the new residents move in and that starts to turn over, some of the restaurants stay and really succeed, some of them don't, and new ones come in, and there's been some great restaurants that have opened down there. It's become a destination, which is, to think about 10 years ago, if I would have told you that people from Mid and South on Staten Island would go to the North Shore on a regular basis for a meal.
You're absolutely right.
It was like, you're crazy. This isn't going to happen. And it's happening now. It's really exciting.
So now what's the difference in terms of, and we only have a few minutes, but Stapleton versus St. George. So we've basically been talking about St. George, even though we didn't actually say neighborhood, but what's happening in Stapleton?
So Stapleton, Irby is in Stapleton. That's the anchor there. I think Empire is the anchor for St. George. And what you're seeing is it started on the waterfront. It's pulling up. I would love to see something happening, exciting with Tappan Park. It's a beautiful opportunity there.
Sure.
But it is starting to migrate up, and as we continue to invest in and improve transportation, I think it'll just continue.
I agree. I think transportation is important too.
Absolutely.
And that we didn't touch on. But if we had another episode, we could devote it to transportation. James, this was great. Thank you so much.
Thank
it
you.
was really great having you as a
Pleasure.
guest. So my next guest, I'm very good friends with. I will say that beforehand. So we might talk about family and friends. No, I'm just teasing everybody. But Billy Hanson, I'm so happy to welcome you, the owner of Reliable Office Solutions.
Thank you, Robin.
And thank you. So let's not talk about family and friends and vacations and stuff, but let's talk about where has the industry transformed in the world of printers, copy machines, things that you know better than anybody else on.
Yes, yeah. I've been around there for a while. So I started in the industry in December '99. So that was toward the tail end when the machines were still analog. And shortly thereafter, or around that time, copiers morphed into what we now call MFPs. So they started printing, faxing, scanning, and that really became more of the workflow.
So it's like multifunctional, I'm guessing.
Multifunctional platform, yeah. So it's what MFP stands for. So it really became a much bigger part of the organization because, it was just a copier, and now it's doing all these things. And the industry has kind of taken off from there. And the next, a few years later, the next transition in the industry was when color used to be something that was mostly sent out to a print shop locally.
Sure.
But I guess in the early 2000s, what you saw a lot of is color being brought into the workplace. So the cost per page, or which is what we use in our industry, we call it a CPP, cost per print or cost per page. Those came down, and what you saw was the machines become more economical and be able to be brought in-house. And basically anything that you used to send out to, the real estate market, for example, they used to have, they would sell a house or list a house.
Sure.
And they would go to a print shop. They'd print maybe a couple hundred because they don't know how quickly a home is going to sell.
Right, like flyers.
Yeah, like flyers or whatever they're giving out for open house or whatever. And one of the ways they were able to save is they bring in a house and they would print it on demand. So you print 20 at a time. The house doesn't go. You keep listing it.
Sure.
So that's one way the industry has really changed.
You're
over
right,
time.
because we used to print flyers. We would get boxes of them, and they'd be shipped, and it took a lot of storage space up.
Right. Another thing you started seeing, if you remember back, is if you had someone to come in to do a business proposal. For example, our healthcare provider comes in every year with, the prices and their logo on top and everything. And in the past, it's hard to remember back, but that would be black and white. And now that's something that's done in house that changed the industry. And then other things happened as well, where initially scanning it would be a black and white output device, but scanning would be in black and white. And now that's all become standard. That scanning is software, and most of the devices that people use there are black and white for heavy duty machines for schools will use for testing and things like that. But most organizations, if they have just one device, that's usually a color device now.
Well, isn't it awesome that you could have one device, whereas you used to have a printer, a fax, a scanner, like everything was a separate apparatus, and you had to have all this space to put it, and now you have one rather small machine. Especially in a market like Manhattan, because like space is at a premium in Manhattan. Right. And we don't sell any more standalone fax machines at all, really. Up to a few years ago, we still sold an occasional one, but not really. Sure. Faxing, ironically, is still popular in the industry because of in the medical industry with HIPAA rules, and lawyers use it still. But aside from that, most people are more of a scan and edit, electronically edit and store and share that way. Well, nowadays also people are into saving paper. Whereas we used to fax, we used to print, now we scan and we save to files, right? I mean. Yeah, so there is more shareability with the digital age. And in fact, what you're seeing is a lot of the companies in my industry, what they'll do is they're taking it to the next level. So the next level is software surrounding the equipment, the MFPs. So someone who just has one or two machines is not as applicable, but for an organization that has a fleet of machines, they have software that can basically tell the CEO or CFO, who's ever the head of the department, right? Who's printing what? Are they printing on the appropriate device? That's interesting. For example, if you're a C-level person and you have to print just a couple pages. Right, am I running off like hundreds and hundreds of copies? Right, well, you may have a device that's local, and you may want to use that for convenience, right? And you may even have that for your staff too, because you may have like one or a smaller unit that's capable of printing smaller amounts. Now keep in mind, the smaller the unit, typically the higher the cost per page cost. So what you really want to save cost is you want to have centralized areas where the larger equipment is housed, where everyone can get to. And that's where you want to run off your larger print jobs. So the software will be able to, because it's cost saving. It's the larger machine is built to handle big jobs, and it's also got the speed and capacity and robustness to handle that. So now, if you were going to close with our viewers, should they go with a big company or should they go with a small company when they're making their choice in a copy machine, purchasing a copy machine or leasing it? If you're a national company, you probably are better off with a big organization. But if you're a regional or local company, you're better off with a smaller company. And I'll leave you with this. The equipment it's equipment.
It's going to break. It's going to need service.
Right.
It's built. It's like a car. It's going
So
to need.
you're going to say go with someone you feel comfortable with.
Yes, go with who you feel.
Right.
You want one of the elite products on the market, because
Right.
there are some lower tier.
Sure.
You want one of the better
And you
products.
want to go with somebody who's going to serve it.
You want someone who's going to be accountable.
That's awesome.
And is going to take care of you when you have a problem.
Thank you so much, Billy Hanson, for that. And we will be back with our next guest. Our next guest is Scott Salinardi, and he's the Associate Executive Director of Lifestyles for the Disabled. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Robin. Great to be here.
I am so excited for you to tell our viewers all about Lifestyles for the Disabled, because it's such an amazing organization, but I don't know if everybody knows about it.
Sure, Robin. It would be a pleasure. Lifestyles for the Disabled, we've been around for a little over 25 years, and we serve intellectually and developmentally disabled adults and teens on Staten Island. So we've had a great run so far, and really trying to meet people that need services and trying to understand, how we as an organization can provide opportunities for them at our campuses and also with the many community partners we have on Staten Island to bring out their best. Really focus
Sure.
on people's abilities, not so much their disability.
How do people find out about your organization? Like, how do they know to contact you
Sure.
for assistance?
Well, there's a few ways. Some people have learned about us as they matriculate through school. So if they are graduating from the local high schools or the special schools on Staten Island, like the Hungerford School or Great Kills
Sure.
High School, they will outreach to Lifestyles and other organizations similar to Lifestyles on the island, and meet us and tour us and get to know us to see, as they start the next chapter in their life, going from teens to adulthood, would this be a place for them, and do we have things that would appeal to them? So a lot of our contacts come from that school age to adult services, and then other adults on the island that are living here and are seeking opportunities, they will check out Lifestyles on social media or our website or at transition fairs. There's some great events that Staten Island puts on in terms of the legislators on the island. They do certain events that cater to this population, and it really educates the families and the individuals.
So now, are you providing job assistance, housing assistance?
So we provide a lot of services. The one area we actually don't provide is the residential, the housing. So Lifestyles isn't partaking in that at this time, but pretty much everything else we do focus on. So the job skill development, the job creation, or the employment sector is relatively new to Lifestyles. Let's say in the last 3 or 4 years, we've added that department. Our biggest program is called Dayhabilitation, and that kind of focuses on really a wide array of vocational, social, and recreational experiences that individuals can customize a schedule that meets their needs. And so that's been our biggest program, and we have over 300 adults that have chosen that on a daily basis.
Wow.
So that's we build off of that, but there are other programs as well. Something called respite services, where the individuals have a chance to explore Staten Island and New York City, and even cross the bridge and maybe go to New Jersey or some of the surrounding states, where we do trips and have social outings where we can really have a lot of fun and really get to be with peers and see different attractions and things. So that's a very popular program. At the same time, it gives families a chance to have a little break at home,
sure.
and for the individuals to create those friendships and memories with their friends and peers.
So what ages do you service?
Primarily, Lifestyles focuses on adults. The majority of individuals are 18 and over, but we do have some teen programs as well. So working with some of the local high schools, we've developed great partnerships with them. So individuals 14 and up can start to get a taste of what adult services is all about.
That's great.
And it helps them, it helps their families too, just to see what the difference between the Department of Education services and not-for-profit, the not-for-profit world can offer, when it comes that time, upon graduation.
So I know I've seen table centerpieces that you've had your constituents make and donate to nonprofit events.
Yeah, the greenhouse program has been,
Nice.
really proud to provide that service to local organizations and businesses and schools, and that's where they shine. Where they could really put their creativity together, their
Sure.
ideas and thoughts, and have a chance to really get to know the community. And that's what we really feel the future is bright on Staten Island, because there's so many great organizations and people on Staten Island willing to come to the table and
Sure.
either invite organizations like Lifestyles in, or or find out really what Lifestyles is about, and what are we doing today
Right.
that may be different from 5 years ago, even when we started, 25 years ago. So we've come a long way,
Sure.
but there's so much to do, and it's so exciting because people are really great to work with on the island, and our individuals have so much ability. I mean, they really impress us every day, on what they can do and what they can offer.
I'm sure. Can you tell our viewers how they can contact you if they would like to help in
Sure.
any way?
Sure. There's several ways. You could reach us. Like I said before, social media. We have a Facebook page. We have several Facebook pages. We have a website. If you type Lifestyles in Google or
Okay,
something,
it'll come up.
It'll come up.
Sure.
And we have our campuses. So we have a campus right behind the College of Staten Island on the old Willowbrook grounds, 930 Willowbrook Road. And then we also have something called the Lifestyles Educational Center, which is the old St. Sylvester School on Targee Street.
Right.
So we have those two campuses. And,
Awesome.
we're really excited about,
Excellent.
the coming days.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you,
And thank you for educating our viewers. Great having you.
Great. It's my pleasure.
I think my viewers are going to really like our next guest, because this is like a treat. So we have the owners of the Beauty Suite. I have Donna Ivackovic and Anjali Wrenn. And this is really kind of different and fun. So you help brides on their big day.
Yep.
And when I was a bride, we didn't have anything like this. So, tell everybody, what does that mean?
So what we've learned, and I think anybody who's either been in a wedding or has been a bride getting married, we know that it's super stressful for her. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that preparing for your wedding and the morning of your wedding is just as important as the rest of the day. And
Maybe more so.
maybe more so, because it really sets the tone for the whole day. How
Yes.
you feel, how you look.
Right.
That really sets the tone for you before you walk down the aisle.
Right.
So I really like to encourage brides to put together a morning prep plan and try to enlist people to help her, minimize her stress, ease her mind a little bit. I think that there's so much that the bride has to remember for the morning of. So anything that she can do to sort of help with that in terms of planning, I think is a bonus for her.
Yeah,
That
and I
makes
feel
it
like
easy.
we want brides to feel confident by the time they get to their venue or reception and walking down the aisle with how they look too. We want them to feel beautiful and know
Right.
that their hair is perfectly set in place and their makeup is on point and their outfit is amazing, so that they're so confident walking down, having their picture taken and the videos and everyone looking at them while they walk down the aisle.
Well, let's talk about the way things have changed over the last few years. So, when I got married almost 4 years ago, I did my own makeup in my non-air conditioned
my God.
bathroom, and left for pictures. And now there are hair and makeup artists that make up the whole wedding party. Tell us about that, because it's so exciting and fun.
Yeah, so I feel like the trends now is brides are actually booking their makeup artists and hairstylists years or more in advance, because they just want to make sure they get the perfect person for their style that they're looking to choose. And I feel like Instagram really played a huge role, because they can see the style that particular artist is doing, and so they know, that's my style that I want for that day, or this is the girl that I want to choose, and then hoping that they're available is another whole thing too. But I feel like they're looking for those things way in advance, even sometimes before they're booking their photographers and finding their dress.
I'm amazed.
Yep, and I think that nowadays the brides are so savvy.
Yeah.
They follow all of the hair people, all of the makeup artists. They're so much more aware of what the trends are and what they want. And depending on location, most people can't do more than 1 or 2 brides a day. So the brides now know that if they don't book that person, they might lose them. So once that first bride goes and books a makeup artist or a hairstylist 2 years in advance, that kind of sends everybody in the industry in like a tailspin, because now they know, well, I need to get my people. I need to secure my hair people and my makeup people for my day.
Staten Island bridal parties are huge. We're talking 12, 14 girls. So imagine this all happening in their home. It gets really hectic. So I feel like that's why these new things are coming in, where it's almost like these prep parties before their wedding day, before they start their day.
So now it's typical then to have a consultation with the bride and kind of go over what her expectations are.
Absolutely.
What about the rest of the bridal party, or you don't meet with the rest of the bridal party?
No, we don't. We don't typically meet with the rest of the bridal party until the morning of, but we definitely meet with the bride beforehand. We kind of go through what her whole morning will look like. We review the schedule with her, and I think that that's super important because it helps her take some of that stress off of what she needs to do for that day. And then we always encourage brides to get their trials beforehand. They need to know what they're going to look like on the day of their wedding, and Anjali, I think, can speak to that a little bit better because she's the one who's doing the makeup for the brides.
Yeah, so I feel like they definitely come in. Sometimes they book you beforehand, but they definitely want to try you out. So we call that a trial.
Absolutely.
They'll come in with maybe a picture of a look that either that artist has done or a look that they found on Pinterest or something. And basically they want us to achieve that look so that they can feel confident that that's exactly what they're going to look like on their wedding day.
How do you tell a bride, no, don't do that? I think you should do something
sometimes
different.
you have to be the expert and say, I think this would compliment you better.
So don't you think this has all changed because of social media?
Absolutely. It's all changed because of social media.
Yeah, so then, I mean, brides are constantly taking selfies. Actually, I see all young people taking selfies about everything nowadays.
I think that even beyond the bride, the entire prep process for parties and occasions has changed completely, because it really is all about getting that photo. It's all about having your hair and makeup done, being in the right place, being dressed, having the environment look the way that you want it, and having that one shot that you can post on Instagram. So it's kind of evolved completely because everybody knows that they're going to be seen by their followers and everyone else.
So if you left our viewers with one last tidbit of an idea about their wedding day or, getting hair and makeup done, what would that be?
I guess we normally say a plan. Have like a beauty plan in motion of who you're going to do your trials with and what's the look you're going for, based on what gown you bought, shoes, accessories.
So plan in advance.
To plan it and to enjoy it. Try and enjoy the morning, because I think a lot of brides coming into this, they don't realize that it's about them and it goes so fast. And they worry about pleasing everybody else. So try and enjoy it.
Sure. Thank you so much. This was
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you for having us.
I want to thank you for being my guest. And again, the Beauty Suite owners, Donna Ivackovic and Anjali Wrenn. Thank you so much. This was fun. And I want to thank my viewers. I hope you enjoyed all of our guests today. We had James Prendamano from Casandra Properties. We had Billy Hanson from Reliable Office Solutions. And we had Scott Salinardi from Lifestyles for the Disabled. And of course, we had the Beauty Suite. Thank you, everybody. And I want to thank the SIEDC for this episode. Contact siedc.org for any questions. Thank you so much to the camera crew for the television production today. And bye, everybody. See you next time on Beyond the Ferry.